Welcome to Surviving to Thriving with Clare Downham, where I share insights on the inside-out nature of life so you can stop the inner critic running the show and step into thriving in every aspect of your life. I hope you find this episode helpful. Why is it so hard to say no? I don't think I knew the answer to that for a really, really long time because I said yes to everything. My boundaries, which is what we're exploring today in this episode, were not very good at all. But not only did I say yes a lot to people outside of me, from my family to my friends to my ex-husband to things to do with work, but I also said yes to a nagging voice inside me that said all the time that I needed to be doing more than I actually was. I wasn't being at all guided by the needs of my body. And that's what really happens, doesn't it, when we've got no boundaries? It's like we've forgotten to listen to what we really need. We're being led pretty much all of the time by that gnarly inner critic that's saying all the time, well, you just need to keep these people happy. And you may be wondering why that's happened. Why have we ended up with a system like that that fundamentally gets in the way of us and our well-being? Well, it's because at some point in the past, that kept us safe. This is why it's so hard to say no. Because perhaps we were raised in a family where if you wanted to stay safe and you wanted to be in favour, you had to say yes. And being in favour with our carers in the early part of our life is it's like a driver that's so strong. Because let's face it, babies can't look after themselves. Little children can't feed and clothe themselves and keep a roof over their own heads. We really do need those adults around us to care for us. And so if it looks like they're upset with us in any way, we can't do with that. It just feels really, really scary because all the time there's that fear of rejection. It's a bit like the thing people often talk about public speaking. We know why are people so afraid of public speaking. Often they say people are more afraid of public speaking than they are of death, which sounds ridiculous, doesn't it, when you say it out loud, but they say that's the case. I'm not sure how they've worked that out, but that's something that people say, isn't it? And the reason is that actually, when you're doing public speaking, there is this like reptilian, prehistoric fear of rejection. If I am rejected by the tribe, I will be out on my ear and I'll be trying to look after myself. And we lived in tribes. We were tribal creatures. We still are, really. We're just not particularly living a very tribal life anymore. And so staying safe was really important. And it's the same for the things that we believe are going to keep us safe that we learn in childhood. We learn that we best please those people around us. We best not really say no to anybody because we need to stay safe. And so we learn a pattern of thinking. It's pretty persistent. Those patterns of thinking feel like us, don't they? You know, a lot of my clients will say, yeah, but I've always been like this. The number of clients I've spoken to who said to me, I've always been like this. I've always, since as long as I can remember, I've always been like this. But you haven't. It just probably feels like it because that voice has probably been there a really, really long time and it's really, really familiar. It so much feels like us, doesn't it? At that point when we are listening to it and tuning into it. And the other aspect of this is that there's a whole heap of fear that comes with this too. So if we're about to say no to somebody, we're about to put a boundary up and say, no, actually, this isn't okay for me, that can often come with a feeling of fear. Now, there's a misinterpretation that's happening here. When we feel that feeling of fear in the body, we think that's telling us that it's dangerous to put that boundary up, that there's some risk to us. It isn't really, it's just the feeling in the body is a representation of thought that is being believed. And the thought that's being believed is, I can't be rejected by this person. I can't be rejected. It's too much. It feels really, really terrifying. Because at some point when we're small, it might have been really terrifying. And that's why we just keep saying yes. And when we sort of explore boundaries, we can really start to see this. But it's all back to the feeling. I think if you read up about boundaries, it looks like it's all about rigidity, isn't it? And getting them strict and getting them, really, really like a big iron fence. I don't know why I thought of an iron fence. I'm not sure that's even a thing. But in actual fact, my guidance is more towards the present moment. Like, what feels right now? What is the guidance from my body? Do I feel connected to the present moment? And does this boundary make sense right now? I think, like anything, if we become very rigid about these things, it can end up actually not working out as well as we might think. So how do we connect to that, and how do we understand that better? Well, this is what the inside out conversation is all about, really. It's what this journey from inner critic to inner knowing is all about. It's about getting in touch with this inner guidance that we always have. It's about seeing that thoughts, although they've been around a long time and they're very familiar and sometimes feel like so familiar that they feel safe, are not actually who you are. I really do recommend taking some time to just sit with your thoughts and notice how they come and go like clouds drifting across the sky, one of my favourite metaphors. I think it's probably one of the favourite metaphors of everybody who teaches this inside out understanding. It's definitely one of mine. And being able to see those thoughts and how they flow through. The thing to see around boundaries is that every time we hold up our hand and say yes to somebody else, the other side of that says no. It's saying no to us. So somebody once showed me that on a piece of paper, and I thought it was really, really effective. The piece of paper says yes on one side and no on the other. If you show somebody else the yes, you have to look at the no. So whenever you're not establishing a boundary, you're saying no to yourself. So moment by moment, this is about tuning in to the body. And how do we do that? Well, for me, there really only is one thing to do, and that's to pause. Because initially, when somebody asks us to do something, there'll either be this big feeling of, well, I must say yes to that. Otherwise, something terrible is going to happen. And this is what the thinking is saying. Or there's a kind of, oh, I can't believe that person's asking me to do that again. And either way, in those situations, we may either just do the thing that we don't really want to do and doesn't feel right to us really, or we may well speak our boundary in a not very pleasant way. So we get in touch with the body and we notice how it's feeling. And we realise that really the body's just letting us know. It's letting us know about our state of mind. It's letting us know about what's going on in there. It's often letting us know about what the inner critic has to say about it all. And that's it, really. And that's the place from which we can be guided. Saying no doesn't have to be as hard as it might seem. It's just about connecting to yourself in the present moment and realizing that your thoughts are being represented in your body in terms of your emotions. They don't come from your emotions don't come from anywhere else. They just come from your state of mind and the thoughts that you're believing. And in that way, we can navigate through life with so much more ease. And saying no can get a little bit easier. Without boundaries, we can end up pretty much overwhelmed, burnt out, and on our knees, which is what happened to me because I didn't have very good boundaries. So I really hope you found this helpful. I hope this helps you to just move a little bit more towards boundaries that are aligned with you and your inner knowing, and not led by your inner critic and overgiving. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you find that helpful. Take care. Lots of love. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on Surviving to Thriving. I hope this session has been helpful. If it resonated, I'd love for you to follow me and maybe share this episode with someone you care about. Until next time, be kind to yourself and trust your inner knowing.